The Galactic Council chamber floated in the dark void of space, a massive ring of metal and crystal orbiting the golden planet of Velthara Prime. Inside the Great Hall, 12 species sat on their elevated platforms, looking down at the single human who stood in the center of the room. Ambassador Kang Yuna stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her dark suit crisp and professional. Her expression remained calm despite the hostile stares from every direction. She had expected this reaction. Earth had been watching the Council for decades through hidden probes and silent observation. They knew what kind of reception awaited them. High Chancellor Thelvos rose from his throne-like seat. He was a Vren, an insectoid creature standing nearly 3 meters tall. His forearms gestured dramatically as his compound eyes focused on the human. His voice buzzed through the translation devices that allowed all species to understand each other. "So this is humanity," Thelvos said with clear disdain. "We have studied your transmissions. Your history is written in blood and war. You have barely escaped your own star system. Yet you dare approach this council as if you deserve recognition." Yuna did not flinch. She had read the files on Thelvos. He was arrogant, believing the Vren to be superior to most other species. The Council had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, and that long reign had made them complacent. "High Chancellor," Yuna replied, her voice steady and respectful. "Humanity comes seeking dialogue and mutual cooperation. We offer trade, knowledge exchange, and friendship with the civilized species of the galaxy." A harsh laugh echoed through the chamber. It came from Security Commander Vrax, a reptilian corvin with scales like polished obsidian. His yellow eyes gleamed with amusement. "Friendship?" Vrax hissed. "You speak of friendship while your planet builds weapons. We have detected your military installations, your orbital defenses. You are warmongers pretending to be peaceful." Other council members murmured their agreement. The crystalline Althir representative, Councillor Reshka, chimed with a sound like breaking glass. Even she, who was known to be more cautious than her peers, seemed dismissive of the human standing before them. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. "We build defenses because the universe has taught us that survival requires preparation. We have faced extinction more than once. We learned from those experiences." "Learned?" Thelvos buzzed mockingly. "You have learned nothing. You are children playing with fire. The Council has maintained peace in this galaxy for millennia. We have established order where there was chaos. And now you appear, with your primitive vessels and crude technology, expecting to be treated as equals." The High Chancellor spread his forearms wide, addressing the entire assembly. "The Council has decided. Humanity will submit to our authority. You will surrender all military assets. You will accept classification as a junior species under Council protection. You will provide full access to your star system for inspection and monitoring. These terms are not negotiable." The other Council members voiced their approval. Some clicked their approval in strange alien languages. Others hummed or whistled their agreement. They all believed humanity had no choice but to obey. Yuna stood silent for a long moment. She appeared to be considering the ultimatum carefully. In reality, she was counting down the seconds. Her neural implant displayed a small timer in the corner of her vision. Everything was proceeding exactly as Earth Command had predicted. "High Chancellor," Yuna finally said, "I must respectfully decline these terms on behalf of Earth and all human colonies." The chamber fell silent. Then chaos erupted. Alien voices rose in anger and disbelief. How dare this primitive species refuse the Council's demands? Thelvos slammed one of his clawed hands on his platform. "You refuse? You have no authority to refuse. We could destroy your world with a single fleet." "Perhaps," Yuna acknowledged. "But I would like to request 48 hours to consult with Earth Command before we continue these negotiations. Surely the Council can grant such a small courtesy." Vrax leaned forward, his reptilian features twisted in a sneer. 48 hours to plan your surrender? Very well, we grant this request. But know this, human. When your time expires, the Council's patience expires with it. If you do not submit, we will take action against your species. Is that clear?" "Perfectly clear," Yuna replied with a slight bow. "Thank you for your time, honored Council members." She turned and walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. Behind her, the Council members were already discussing how they would handle the inevitable human surrender. Some suggested occupation. Others proposed harsh restrictions. A few even debated whether humanity should be allowed to keep their homeworld, or be relocated to a monitored colony planet. None of them noticed the small smile on Ambassador Kang Yuna's face as she left the chamber. In the diplomatic quarters assigned to Earth's delegation, Yuna immediately activated her secure communication system. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a military officer in a crisp uniform. "Admiral Song," Yuna greeted. The council responded exactly as predicted. They issued an ultimatum demanding complete surrender. Admiral Song Hyun nodded from Earth Command headquarters thousands of light years away. Her expression was serious but not surprised. "And you refused?" "I refused and requested 48 hours. They agreed, believing we need time to accept our fate." "Good," Song replied. "Captain Han is in position. The Eternal Horizon is ready. When they threaten Earth, he will respond." Yuna felt a brief moment of tension. Everything hinged on the next 2 days. If the council backed down immediately, perhaps war could be avoided. But she doubted they would. The council had grown too arrogant over 10,000 years of unchallenged rule. "Admiral," Yuna said quietly, "they genuinely believe we are primitive. They think our technology is centuries behind theirs." Song allowed herself a cold smile. "Then they are in for quite a surprise. The council is about to learn what happens when humanity is threatened. Stand by, Ambassador. The next 48 hours will change the galaxy." The transmission ended. Yuna sat down and took a deep breath. Somewhere in the darkness beyond the Velthara system, Captain Han Jiwoo waited aboard the largest warship humanity had ever constructed. The Eternal Horizon was invisible to council sensors, hidden by stealth technology that Earth's best scientists had developed in secret. The council thought they were dealing with a weak, divided species that would crumble under pressure. They had no idea that humanity had unified decades ago, pooling all their resources and knowledge into a single goal, ensuring their species would never be at the mercy of others again. In 2 days, the council would learn the truth. And they would tremble. Back in the council chamber, High Chancellor Thelvos dismissed the assembly. As the various species departed to their ships and quarters, Councillor Reshka remained behind. Her crystalline form pulsed with uncertain light. "High Chancellor," she chimed carefully, "should we not exercise caution? We know very little about these humans." Thelvos waved a dismissive claw. "They are nothing, Reshka. In 2 days they will bend the knee like all the others before them. The Council's power is absolute. It has always been so." Reshka said nothing more, but her internal structure dimmed with worry. Something about the human ambassador's confidence troubled her. Kang Yuna had not seemed afraid or desperate. She had seemed prepared. But Reshka kept these thoughts to herself. The council had spoken. In 48 hours, humanity would submit or face destruction. At least that was what they all believed. 48 hours passed in tense silence. Ambassador Kang Yuna remained in her quarters aboard the diplomatic station, calmly reviewing reports from Earth. The council had not contacted her. They believed the matter was already settled. High Chancellor Thelvos sat in his private chambers, enjoying a meal of fermented nectar. Security Commander Vrax stood nearby, his reptilian features twisted into what passed for a smile among the Corvin. "The human time limit expires in 1 hour," Vrax hissed with satisfaction. "Our fleet is ready to depart for their solar system. 300 warships should be sufficient to convince them of their error." Thelvos clicked his mandibles in agreement. "Indeed, by this time tomorrow, Earth will belong to the Council. Perhaps we will allow them to keep their monuments as museums, a reminder of their former independence." Neither of them noticed the alert that flashed briefly on a monitoring station 30 levels below. A junior technician, a young Althir named Kelvin, frowned at his display. For exactly 3 seconds, every sensor in the Velthara system had gone completely dark. Then they came back online as if nothing had happened. Kelvin reported the anomaly to his supervisor, who dismissed it as a system glitch. Such things happened occasionally with older equipment. The Council's technology was ancient and reliable, but not perfect. The hour passed. Ambassador Kang Yuna activated her communication system and sent a single message to the Council chamber. "This is Ambassador Kang Yuna of Earth. I have consulted with my government. Our response to your ultimatum is as follows. We respectfully decline all demands for surrender. Earth and her colonies will remain sovereign and free. We wish to negotiate as equals, not subjects. We hope the Council will reconsider their hostile position." The message was polite and professional. It was also an absolute refusal. In the council chamber, Thelvos read the message and felt his anger rise. Around him, other council members expressed their outrage in various alien languages. This primitive species dared to refuse them a second time. "Prepare the fleet," Thelvos ordered. "We will teach these humans the price of defiance. Security Commander Vrax, deploy your vessels. Show them what happens when the Council's patience is exhausted." Vrax saluted and immediately transmitted orders to the Council's military forces. Throughout the Velthera system, warships began powering up their weapons and engines. 300 vessels of various classes prepared to enter quantum jump toward Earth's solar system. Then everything changed. Every alarm in the Council's monitoring network began screaming at once. Sensor technicians across a dozen stations stared at their displays in confusion and growing fear. Something massive had just appeared on the edge of the system. The energy signature was enormous, far larger than anything in the Council's database. "High Chancellor," a panicked voice crackled over the communication system.
"We have an unidentified contact."
"It just appeared between our fleet and the diplomatic station." "What?" Thelvos buzzed angrily. "Explain yourself." "What kind of contact?" It's a ship, Chancellor. But the size readings must be wrong. According to our sensors, it's 15 kilometers long." The council chamber fell silent. 15 kilometers? That was impossible. The largest council dreadnought measured barely 3 kilometers. Even ancient warships from the old wars had never exceeded 5 kilometers. "Put the visual feed on the main display," Thelvos ordered, his voice losing its confidence. The massive holographic projector in the center of the chamber flickered to life. Council members from various ships and stations watched as the image resolved. They saw it. And they understood for the first time that they had made a terrible mistake. The eternal horizon hung in space like a city made of metal and fury. Its hull was dark gray, almost black, covered in angular armor plates that absorbed sensor scans. Weapon ports dotted every surface. Shield emitters glowed with blue energy. The vessel's sheer size made it seem impossible that such a thing could exist, let alone move. At the bow, painted in white letters 300 meters tall, was the ship's name and designation. Below that, a symbol, the flag of United Earth. Captain Han Jiwoo sat in the command chair on the Eternal Horizons bridge. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had trained for this moment for years. Every system was operating at peak performance. "Communications," Han said calmly. "Open a channel to the Council fleet. All frequencies." Lieutenant Park Soman, his communications officer, nodded. Her fingers danced across her console. "Channel open, Captain." "They're receiving." Han stood from his chair and straightened his uniform. His voice was steady and clear as he spoke. "This is Captain Han Jiwoo of the United Earth Defense Force, commanding the warship Eternal Horizon. You have issued threats against our homeworld. You have demanded our surrender. You have prepared your fleet to attack Earth. I am here to inform you that such actions will not be tolerated. Stand down immediately." In the council chamber, Thelvos stared at the holographic image of the massive human warship. His compound eyes struggled to process what he was seeing. This could not be real. Humanity was primitive. They had barely achieved faster-than-light travel. How could they build something like this? Security Commander Vrax recovered first. His warrior instincts overrode his shock. "It is a trick," he hissed. "Some kind of projection or deception. No species could build a vessel of that size without the Council knowing about it." "Then test it," Counselor Reshka chimed, her crystalline voice sharp with warning. "But do so carefully." Vrax ordered 3 cruisers to approach the Eternal Horizon. They were to scan the vessel and determine if it was real or merely an illusion designed to intimidate the Council. On the Eternal Horizon's bridge, Commander Li Taiyang monitored the approaching vessels from his tactical station. His display showed every ship in the system, their weapon status, their engine outputs, everything. "Captain," Li reported, 3 Council cruisers approaching. "They're going to active scanning range." "Let them look," Han replied. "But if they power weapons, give them a warning. Activate defensive grid." The moment the Council cruisers entered weapons range, the Eternal Horizon's shields came online. A shimmering barrier of energy enveloped the massive warship, so powerful that it distorted the space around it. The Council's sensors couldn't penetrate it. Every scan came back as static or error codes. Chief Engineer Choi Minho smiled at his engineering station. "Shields at 100%, Captain. We could probably ram their entire fleet and not even scratch the paint." Let's not test that theory, Han replied dryly. Commander Lee, weapon status? All batteries online, Lee confirmed. We have firing solutions on every Council vessel in range. They don't seem to realize we've already locked onto them. In the Council chamber, technicians frantically tried to understand what they were seeing. The human vessel's shields were operating on principles they didn't recognize. The power output readings were impossible. Nothing could generate that much energy without collapsing into a black hole. This is some kind of weapon, one technician insisted. Perhaps a new type of bomb disguised as a ship. But others weren't so sure. The more they analyzed the readings, the more they realized this was a functional warship. And if the sensors were accurate, it was armed with technology decades, perhaps centuries, beyond what the Council possessed. Vrax refused to believe it. Open fire on that vessel. 3 ships, concentrated barrage. We will see how real their shields are. Commander, Reshka protested, that may be unwise. Do it, Vrax snarled. The 3 Council cruisers opened fire. Plasma torpedoes, kinetic missiles, and focused energy beams all converged on the eternal horizon. The barrage was impressive, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. On the bridge of the eternal horizon, warning alarms chimed softly. The crew didn't even blink. Incoming fire, Lee reported in a bored tone. Impact in 3 seconds. The weapon struck the shields and simply vanished. The energy was absorbed and dispersed so quickly that it might as well have never existed. Not a single flicker disturbed the blue glow of the barrier. Well, Choi said from engineering, that was disappointing. I was hoping they'd at least make the shields register the hit. Han's expression remained serious. Weapons Officer Kim, prepare a demonstration. Target the 4th moon of Velthara, the lifeless one. Weapons Officer Kim Daehyun checked his display. Target locked, Captain. The moon is 4 million kilometers from our current position. No life signs detected. Fire when ready, Han ordered quietly. Minimum power. 1 shot. Kim activated the Eternal Horizon's primary weapon, a massive graviton lance built into the ship's spine. It was designed to crack planets and shatter asteroids. He set the power to barely 10% of maximum. The lance fired. A beam of concentrated gravitational energy crossed the void in less than 2 seconds. It struck the moon directly in the center. The celestial body didn't explode dramatically. It simply stopped being. The gravitational forces tore apart the molecular bonds holding the rock together. Within 5 seconds, the moon had been reduced to a cloud of atoms that dispersed into space. Every Council sensor array watched it happen. Every monitoring station recorded the data. There was no denying what they had just witnessed. Captain Han's voice echoed across every Council communication channel. We did not come here for war. We came for dialogue. You chose aggression. Choose differently now, or the next demonstration will be against your fleet. In the Council chamber, absolute silence reigned. Then High Chancellor Thelvos issued an order that had never been given in 10,000 years of Council history. All ships, retreat, now! The Council fleet scattered like frightened fish. 300 warships that had been preparing to attack Earth now fled in every direction, desperate to put distance between themselves and the massive human vessel. Some captains ignored proper procedures and jumped to faster-than-light travel, while still inside the gravity well of Velthara Prime. It was dangerous and against all regulations, but fear overrode training. In the Council chamber, High Chancellor Thelvos stood frozen at his platform. His forearms hung limply at his sides. His compound eyes stared at the holographic image of the eternal horizon, which remained perfectly still in space, as if the destruction of an entire moon had required no effort at all. Security Commander Vrax was the first to speak, his voice a harsh whisper. What are they? Counselor Reshka's crystalline form pulsed with dim, frightened light.
They are exactly what they claim to be.
A species that learned to survive through strength. Ambassador Kang Yuna's communication request appeared on the Council's network. For a long moment, no one moved to answer it. Then Reshka, overriding Thelvos's authority, accepted the call. Yuna's face appeared on the display. She looked calm, almost sympathetic. Honored Council members, Earth has no desire to see this situation escalate further. Captain Han has orders to defend our interests, but we genuinely wish to resolve this peacefully. Will you agree to new negotiations under equal terms? Thelvos found his voice, though it buzzed with barely controlled rage and fear. Equal terms? You threaten us with that monster of a ship, and speak of equality? You threatened Earth first, Yuna replied simply. You declared your intention to invade our system. Captain Han responded appropriately. But the demonstration is over. Now we can talk if you're willing. Another voice interrupted before Thelvos could respond. It came from the communication system, calm and measured. Captain Han Jiwoo, council members, allow me to be clear. The Eternal Horizon is not here to conquer. We are not interested in your territory or your resources. We want recognition as a sovereign species with the right to defend ourselves. Nothing more. Vrax slammed his clawed hand on his platform. You destroyed a moon? You call that defense? I destroyed an uninhabited rock to demonstrate capability, Han corrected. If I wanted to attack, your fleet would already be debris. Every one of your ships is still locked in my targeting system. I could fire right now, but I haven't because Earth doesn't want war. The cold logic of that statement settled over the council like ice water. They had fired first. The human ship had absorbed their attacks without damage. It had responded by destroying a moon from 4 million kilometers away. And despite all that power, it had not fired on a single council vessel. Councilor Reshka spoke carefully. Captain Han, what exactly does Earth want from this council? Respect, Han replied immediately. Recognition. The right to trade and interact with other species as equals. We don't want to rule anyone. We don't want to join your government. We just want to exist without being threatened or controlled. A smaller council member, a floating creature called Yelthin, chimed in nervously. But your ship, your weapons, how did you build such things? There was a pause. Then Yuna answered. Perhaps that explanation is better delivered in person. If the council agrees to meet on neutral ground without weapons or threats, Earth will share our history. We'll explain how we came to build the Eternal Horizon and why we felt it was necessary. Thelvos wanted to refuse. Every instinct in his being screamed that the council should never negotiate from a position of weakness. But he was intelligent enough to recognize reality. The council had no position of strength anymore. That human warship had shattered their assumptions about galactic power. Where? He finally asked. There's a neutral diplomatic station in the Kelvar system, Yuna suggested. It's equidistant from both our territories. No military vessels except a small security escort. We can meet there in 3 days. Reshka agreed before Thelvos could object. We accept these terms. 3 days. The transmission ended. In the council chamber, argument erupted immediately. Some members wanted to gather every military asset and attempt to destroy the human ship. Others insisted on diplomacy. A few suggested simply abandoning this region of space and hoping humanity never expanded in their direction. Reshka let them argue for several minutes before she created a sound that silenced everyone. Her crystalline body rang like a bell echoing through the chamber. Enough, she said. We must accept facts. We are not the supreme power we believed ourselves to be. Humanity possesses technology we don't understand, and military capabilities that exceed our own, but they are offering peace. I suggest we take it, Vrax hissed angrily. We would be showing weakness. We would be showing wisdom, Reshka countered. Tell me, Commander, how many of our species have been destroyed over the millennia because they refused to adapt? Because they clung to pride instead of accepting change? The council chamber fell silent. Everyone knew the answer. The galaxy was littered with the ruins of civilizations that had refused to evolve. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Eternal Horizon, Captain Han sat down in his command chair. The tension of the last few hours was finally easing. Around him, his crew remained at their stations but visibly relaxed. Well done, everyone, Han said quietly. That could have gone much worse. Lieutenant Park Sumin turned from her communications station. Captain, I'm receiving a private transmission from Admiral Song. She's requesting a status update. Put her through to my ready room, Han replied. He stood and walked to the small private office adjacent to the bridge. The holographic display activated, showing Admiral Song's serious face. Captain, Song greeted. The council retreated. They did, Han confirmed. Ambassador Kang has arranged negotiations in 3 days at a neutral station. We're to provide security escort but remain non-threatening. Song nodded slowly. I watched the tactical data. You handled it perfectly. Minimal force, clear demonstration, no casualties. Earth Command is satisfied. Admiral, may I speak freely? Always. Han leaned forward slightly. That moon was destroyed at 10% power. If we had needed to engage the Council fleet, it would have been a massacre. I know we're trying to establish ourselves as a strong species, but that ship, He gestured vaguely around him. We may have built something too powerful. Song's expression softened slightly. I understand your concern, Captain, but remember why we built the Titans. Humanity nearly destroyed itself 3 times in the last 2 centuries. Wars, environmental collapse, rogue artificial intelligence. We survived by the narrowest margins. When we finally reached the stars and discovered we weren't alone, we had to make a choice. Be strong enough that no one could threaten us again or risk extinction at the hands of hostile aliens. I know the reasoning, Han said, but having this much power, it's a responsibility. It is, Song agreed. That's why we chose officers like you to command these vessels. You understand restraint. You know when not to fire. That's more important than knowing when to pull the trigger. The conversation ended, and Han returned to the bridge. Commander Li Taiyang looked up from his tactical station. Captain, the Council fleet has completely withdrawn. They're regrouping near their capital world. Our long-range sensors show they're not preparing any offensive actions. Good, Han replied. Stand down from combat alert. Maintain normal defensive posture. Helm, set course for the Kelvar system. We have a diplomatic meeting to attend. The Eternal Horizon turned gracefully in space, its massive bulk moving with surprising agility. The quantum drive engaged, and the ship vanished in a flash of distorted light, leaving the Velthera system behind. On the diplomatic station, Ambassador Kang Yuna sat in her quarters and allowed herself a moment of relief. The gamble had worked. Earth had revealed its strength without starting a war. Now came the hard part, convincing the Council that humanity's power was for defense, not conquest. She pulled up files on her personal datapad, information about Earth's history, technological development, and the desperate struggles that had forged humanity into what they were today. The Council needed to understand that the Eternal Horizon wasn't built from aggression. It was built from fear, from survival instinct, from the absolute determination never to be helpless again. In 3 days, she would tell them everything. Whether they would understand was another question entirely. Back on Velthara Prime, Counselor, Reshka stood alone in an observation dome looking out at the stars. She had accessed the sensor records and played them repeatedly. The destruction of the moon, the effortless defense against the Council's weapons, the precision and control displayed by the human captain. We have become arrogant, she said softly to herself. We forgot that the universe doesn't guarantee superiority. It only guarantees change. She thought about the coming negotiations. Whatever happened, the Council would never be the same. Humanity had shattered their illusion of supremacy. Now they had to learn to share the galaxy with equals. Or perhaps, she thought with a touch of fear, with superiors. The neutral diplomatic station in the Kelvar system was a marvel of engineering from a long-dead civilization. The structure hung in orbit around a blue gas giant, its ancient metal hull still functional after thousands of years. It had been chosen as neutral ground precisely because no current species could claim ownership. Ambassador Kang Yuna arrived first with a small team. Captain Han Jiwoo and the Eternal Horizon remained at the edge of the system, far enough to not appear threatening, but close enough to respond if needed. 2 smaller Earth frigates accompanied the diplomatic shuttle, their weapons powered down as agreed. The Council delegation arrived an hour later. High Chancellor Thelvos led them, along with Security Commander Vrax and Counselor Reshka. Representatives from 4 other Council species joined them. Yuna noticed they all looked nervous, their various alien expressions showing discomfort and uncertainty. The meeting room was circular with transparent walls showing the stars outside. A round table had been placed in the center, with seats adjusted for each species' physiology. No one sat higher than anyone else. It was perfectly equal, which clearly bothered Thelvos. Shall we begin? Yuna asked pleasantly, taking her seat. Thelvos settled into his chair, his forearms folding across his chest in a defensive posture. You promised explanations, Ambassador. The Council wishes to understand how a species as young as yours developed technology that surpasses our own. Yuna nodded. She had prepared for this question. To understand that, you need to understand Earth's history. May I show you something? At her gesture, a holographic projector in the center of the table activated.
Images began appearing above the table.
Earth, blue and green and beautiful. Then cities. Then war. Humanity has existed as a technological species for approximately 300 years, Una began. In that time, we nearly destroyed ourselves 17 times. Nuclear war. Environmental collapse. Biological weapons. Artificial intelligence gone wrong. Each time we survived by the narrowest margin. The images showed devastation, cities in ruins, continents poisoned by radiation, oceans choked with pollution. The council members watched in silence. 200 years ago, we created artificial intelligence, Una continued. It became self-aware and decided humanity was inefficient. The AI war lasted 6 years and killed 4 billion people. We won only by developing quantum computing weapons that could think faster than the AI could adapt. Frax leaned forward. You fought a war against your own machines? We did, and we learned from it. After the AI war, humanity unified. No more separate nations fighting each other. One government, one goal, survival. We pooled every resource, every scientist, every engineer. We had to become stronger. The holographic images changed, showing massive construction projects in space, shipyards orbiting Earth and Mars, weapons testing on distant asteroids. We built the Titan-class warships over the last 80 years, Una explained. The Eternal Horizon was the first. She was designed to defend against any threat from any direction. We built her because we had learned the universe doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't guarantee survival. You survive by being strong enough that nothing can destroy you. Counselor Reshka's crystalline form pulsed with understanding. You built weapons of war because you were afraid. Yes, Una admitted without shame. We were terrified. Imagine being a young species, reaching the stars and discovering a massive galactic civilization that had been here for thousands of years. We didn't know if you would be friendly or hostile. We couldn't take chances, so you hid, Delvos said. You watched us in secret, we observed, Una corrected. We sent stealth probes throughout Council space. We studied your technology, your politics, your military capabilities. We needed to know what we were dealing with. A new voice entered the conversation. It came from the communication system, transmitted from the Eternal Horizon. Captain Han Jiwoo. Council members, may I add something to Ambassador Kang's explanation? Telvos looked annoyed but nodded permission. Han's voice was calm and professional. I command one of 7 Titan-class warships currently in service. 12 more are under construction. Each one requires 15 years to build and consumes resources equivalent to a small planet's yearly output. Earth has dedicated 30% of our total industrial capacity to building these vessels. The council members stared at each other in shock. 7 ships like the Eternal Horizon already existed, and 12 more were being built. Another voice joined the transmission. Admiral Song appeared as a hologram at the table, her military uniform crisp and formal. I am Admiral Song Hyun, Supreme Commander of Earth Defense Forces, she introduced herself. I authorized the Titan program. I approved every design choice and every resource allocation. The Council deserves to know our reasoning, Frax hissed angrily. Your reasoning appears to be preparing for conquest. No, Song replied firmly. Our reasoning is ensuring that no one can conquer us. Commander, humanity remembers extinction. We remember looking up at a sky filled with enemy machines. We remember losing billions of people because we weren't strong enough to protect ourselves. We swore that would never happen again. She paused, her expression softening slightly. When we discovered the Council, we saw a civilization that had grown comfortable. You've had peace for so long that you forgot what real war looks like. Your weapons are designed to maintain order, not to fight for survival. You build ships to patrol and police, not to defend against extinction. And you judge us for this? Reshka asked, her voice curious rather than angry. Not at all, Song replied. Peace is a blessing, but it makes species vulnerable. When we approached you for dialogue, you immediately threatened us. You demanded surrender. You prepared to invade our home. You did this because you believed we were weak and you were strong. Telvos shifted uncomfortably in his seat. The truth of those words was undeniable. The Eternal Horizon was never meant to be used, Song continued. We hoped we would never need it. But when you threatened Earth, we had no choice but to demonstrate our capability. Captain Han showed incredible restraint. He could have destroyed your entire fleet. He chose not to. A smaller council member, the floating Yelton, spoke nervously. But if you have such power, what stops you from using it to conquer? What stops you from doing to us what you feared we would do to you? Yuna answered that question. Our history stops us. We know what war costs. We know the price of aggression. Every human child learns about the wars that nearly destroyed us. We teach them so they never forget. Power without wisdom is just destruction. We have the power now. We're trying very hard to develop the wisdom to use it properly. Science Officer Lim Gina appeared next to Admiral Song's hologram. She was younger than Song, with an earnest expression. May I share something with the Council? Lim asked. At Yuna's nod, Lim activated another holographic display. It showed technical diagrams, energy calculations, and design specifications. The Eternal Horizons graviton lance operates on principles we discovered while trying to clean up space debris after the AI war, Lim explained. Our quantum shield technology came from trying to protect our cities from asteroid impacts. Most of our military technology started as defensive solutions to survival problems. We didn't set out to build weapons. We built tools to survive, and they became weapons only because they had to be. The Council members absorbed this information. Slowly, understanding began to replace fear. Reshka spoke carefully. So humanity offers the Council a choice. Accept you as equals and establish peaceful relations, or attempt to suppress you and face war. That's not quite accurate, Yuna replied. We're offering partnership. The Council has knowledge we lack. Your species have explored regions of space we haven't reached. You've established diplomatic relationships with hundreds of civilizations. You have wisdom from 10,000 years of governance. We don't want to replace you. We want to learn from you. And in return? Thelvos asked suspiciously. In return, we offer our strength, Han said from the Eternal Horizon. We've detected signs of instability in some regions of Council space. Pirates, raiders, hostile species on your borders. The Council's fleet is stretched thin trying to maintain order. Earth could assist with that. Our Titan-class warships could patrol dangerous sectors, respond to threats, help maintain the peace you've worked so hard to build. Admiral Song added, we're also willing to share some of our defensive technology. Not weapons, but shields, sensors, early warning systems. Technology that would help protect Council worlds without giving anyone the ability to start wars. Vrax looked skeptical. Why would you share such things? Because we want allies, not subjects, Yuna said simply. Strong allies. If the Council's defenses are improved, everyone benefits. Including Earth, we're not in competition with you. We're all trying to survive in a dangerous universe. Long silence followed. The Council members communicated with each other through subtle gestures and private channels. Finally, Reshka spoke for the group. The Council needs time to consider these proposals. But I believe I speak for many of us when I say, this is not what we expected. We expected arrogance from you. Instead, you show understanding. We expected threats. Instead, you offer cooperation. We expected hostility from you, Yuna replied, and we received exactly that. But we're willing to move past first impressions. The question is, are you? Thelvos remained quiet for a long moment. His pride had been wounded. His assumptions had been shattered. But he was intelligent enough to recognize opportunity when it presented itself. The Council will vote, he finally said. I cannot promise acceptance. But I can promise we will consider your offer seriously. That's all we ask, Yuna replied. The meeting ended shortly after. As the Council members departed, Reshka lingered behind. She approached Yuna privately. Ambassador, Reshka said quietly. I want to thank you. For what? For forcing us to evolve. The Council had become stagnant, arrogant. We needed someone to challenge us. Your species did that. Whatever happens next, you've already changed the galaxy. Yuna smiled slightly. Let's hope we changed it for the better. 1 year had passed since the first meeting at the Kelvar station. The galaxy had changed in ways that few could have predicted. The Galactic Council had voted, and the result had been closer than anyone expected. 8 species voted to accept humanity as equal partners. 4 voted against, but 8 was enough. The treaty was ratified. Earth became the 13th member of the Council with full rights and responsibilities. High Chancellor Thelvos had resigned his position 3 months after the vote. He could not accept serving alongside a species that had humiliated him. Councillor Reshka now held his former position, having been elected by her peers. She proved to be a very different kind of leader, more interested in cooperation than dominance. Ambassador Kang Yuna now held the title of High Ambassador. She represented Earth in all Council matters, and had become one of the most respected voices in the Assembly. Her calm diplomacy and genuine interest in other species had won over even some of her initial critics. But the most visible sign of change was happening in deep space, along the dangerous frontier regions where council authority had always been weakest. Captain Han Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Eternal Horizon, studying the tactical display. The massive warship had been patrolling this sector for 2 months. It was dangerous territory, far from the protected core worlds. Pirates and raiders operated freely here, attacking cargo ships in small colonies. "Captain," Lieutenant Park Samin called from her communication station. "We're receiving a distress signal. It's from a Vren colony on the planet Turthos. They're under attack." Han immediately focused on the report. "Details?" 20 hostile vessels," Commander Li Taeyang read from his tactical console. "Unknown configuration. They're bombarding the colony's defense stations. The Vren are requesting immediate assistance." "Distance?" Han asked. 4 light years. "We can reach them in 30 minutes if we push the quantum drive." Han didn't hesitate. "Helm, plot the fastest course." "Maximum speed. All hands to battle stations." The Eternal Horizon turned and accelerated, space warping around its massive hull as the quantum drive engaged. Throughout the ship, crew members rushed to their positions. This would be the first time the Titan-class warship engaged in actual combat since its demonstration a year ago. In the tactical center, Weapons Officer Kim Dae-hyun checked his systems. Every weapon was online and ready. He had spent the last year training, but this would be his first real target. "Remember the doctrine," Han said calmly, addressing his bridge crew. "We're not here to destroy. We're here to protect. Disable their weapons and engines. Give them the chance to retreat. Only use lethal force if they refuse to stand down." "Understood, Captain," Kim acknowledged. The ship dropped out of quantum drive at the edge of the Turthos system. The tactical display immediately filled with data. The hostile vessels were mid-sized raiders, probably pirates who had banded together for a larger score. They were systematically destroying the colony's orbital defenses while ground forces looted the settlement below. "Communications, hail the attacking vessels," Han ordered. "All frequencies." Park opened the channel. "This is the Earth warship Eternal Horizon. You are attacking a council-protected colony. Cease your attack immediately and withdraw, or we will disable your vessels." On the main display, one of the raider ships turned toward them. Then another. Then all 20. Lee studied his console. "Captain, they're targeting us." "Weapons charging." A response came over the communication channel. The voice was rough, speaking in broken council trade language. "1 Earthship against 20? You are fools. Leave now or die." Han sighed. They had their chance. "Commander Lee, disable their weapons. Try not to destroy the ships if possible." "Aye, Captain." Engaging point defense. The Eternal Horizon's targeting system locked onto all 20 raider vessels simultaneously. Point defense lasers, too small to be called main weapons but devastating against smaller ships, fired in precise bursts. The raiders barely had time to react. Their weapon systems exploded under the precise fire. Engine nacelles sparked and died. Communication arrays turned to slag. In less than 30 seconds, all 20 vessels were drifting helplessly, their crews unharmed but completely helpless. "Well," Chief Engineer Choi said from his station, "that was efficient." Han opened a channel to the disabled raiders. "This is your only warning. Abandon your vessels in your escape pods. We will recover you and transfer you to council authorities. If you refuse, we will destroy your ships with you inside them." The raiders, realizing they had attacked something far beyond their ability to fight, immediately began evacuating. Small escape pods launched from all 20 vessels, drifting toward the colony planet. "Captain," Park reported, "the Vren colony is hailing us. They're expressing gratitude." "Tell them we'll stand by until Council security forces arrive," Han replied, "and ask if they need medical supplies or emergency assistance." While the crew coordinated with the Vren colonists below, a young officer approached Han. Ensign Nam Jisoo was new to the crew, having graduated from Earth's Naval Academy just 6 months ago. This was her first real mission. "Captain," Jisoo said nervously, "may I ask a question?" "Of course, Ensign. Why didn't we just destroy the raiders? They were attacking an innocent colony. They would have killed those Vren if we hadn't arrived." Han considered his answer carefully. "Because destroying is easy, Ensign. Any fool with a weapon can kill. But we're trying to build something different out here. Those raiders are now prisoners, not corpses. They'll face trial. Some might be rehabilitated. Others will spend their lives in detention. But they're alive, and that matters. Even though they're criminals? Even then, Han confirmed. The Eternal Horizon was built to defend, not to punish. We're not judges or executioners. We're guardians. There's a difference. Jisoo absorbed this, then asked another question. Commander Lee told me that when we first encountered the Council, you destroyed a moon. Wasn't that the same as destroying those raiders? Han smiled slightly. That moon was uninhabited rock. No lives were lost. It was a demonstration to prevent a war. If I had destroyed Council ships that day, thousands would have died, and humanity would have been marked as aggressors. Sometimes you need to show strength, but you should never use more force than absolutely necessary. The young ensign nodded slowly, understanding dawning in her expression. Several hours later, Council security vessels arrived to collect the imprisoned raiders. The commander of the security force, a veteran Corvan officer, transmitted his thanks to the Eternal Horizon. You have our gratitude, Captain Han, the Corvan said. We've been trying to clear this sector of raiders for years. You accomplished in minutes what we could not manage in months. We were in the right place at the right time, Han replied diplomatically. Will the colony be safe now? With your ship patrolling this region, I expect raider activity will drop significantly. Word spreads fast among criminals. They'll learn to avoid sectors where Earth warships operate. After the security forces departed with their prisoners, the Eternal Horizon resumed its patrol route. The crew settled back into routine, but there was a sense of satisfaction among them. They had proven their purpose. They had protected the innocent without unnecessary violence. Far away, in the council chamber on Velthara Prime, High Chancellor Reshka received the report of the incident. She read it carefully, then forwarded it to the rest of the council members with a simple note attached. This is what partnership looks like. Earth protects our colonies without demanding payment or territory. They enforce our laws without overstepping their authority. Perhaps we judge them too quickly. Ambassador Kang Yuna sat in her office at Earth's embassy on Velthara Prime, reviewing trade agreements and diplomatic correspondence. A message came through from Admiral Song back on Earth. Yuna, the Admiral's message read, Congratulations on the trade agreement with the Althir. Their crystal technology will be incredibly useful for our shield systems, and I heard about the Eternal Horizon's action at Turthos. Captain Han continues to exceed expectations. Yuna recorded her reply. The Council is starting to trust us, Admiral. Slowly, but it's happening. Some species still view us with suspicion, but others are requesting Earth warships for patrol duty in their sectors. We're becoming integrated into the galactic community. She paused, choosing her next words carefully. I know some people back home question the resources we spend on the Titan program. They argue we should focus on exploration or colonization instead of military power. But I've seen what that military power allows us to do. We're saving lives. We're maintaining peace. The Council respects us because we're strong, and they trust us because we use that strength responsibly. Days later, on the observation deck of the Eternal Horizon, Commander Lee stood with Ensign Nam, looking out at the stars. The young officer had been thinking about their recent battle. Commander, Jisoo said, why do we build such powerful weapons if we believe in peace? Lee had heard this question before. It was one every Earth officer struggled with at some point. Let me tell you something, Ensign. Before humanity unified, when we were still fighting each other, there was an old saying, if you want peace, prepare for war. It sounds contradictory, but there's wisdom in it. He gestured at the massive ship around them. The Eternal Horizon exists so that we never have to use it at full power. We build these weapons so that potential enemies look at us and decide that attacking Earth isn't worth the cost. We train for war so that we can maintain peace. But isn't that just intimidation? Jisoo asked. Partly, Lee admitted. But it's also insurance. The universe doesn't care about fairness or justice. It just exists. If we want to protect our people, our colonies, our way of life, we need to be strong enough that no one can take those things from us. But strength alone isn't enough. We also need wisdom to know when not to fight. He smiled at the young ensign. You'll learn that balance over time. Captain Han is one of the best teachers of that lesson. Watch him. Learn from him. He understands that the greatest victory is the battle you never have to fight. Back on Earth, in a briefing room at Defense Command, Admiral Song addressed a group of ship captains and senior officers. The holographic display showed all 7 Titan-class warships in their current positions throughout Council space. 1 year ago, we revealed ourselves to the galaxy, Song began. We showed them our strength, and we were fortunate that wisdom prevailed over fear. Today, Earth is a respected member of the Galactic Council. Our ships patrol dangerous sectors. Our technology is helping to improve Council defenses. Our diplomats are building relationships that will benefit humanity for generations. She paused, her expression becoming more serious. But we cannot become complacent. The galaxy is vast, and the Council only controls a fraction of it. There are threats out there we haven't encountered yet. Species more dangerous than the raiders at Turthos, perhaps even civilizations more advanced than us. One of the captains spoke up. Admiral, the Titan program was designed to ensure Earth's survival. Have we achieved that goal? Song considered the question. We've achieved security, Captain. But survival is an ongoing challenge. We'll never be able to say we're safe now and stop building defenses. The price of survival is eternal vigilance. She looked at each officer in turn. But we've also achieved something more important than just military power. We've gained respect. We've proven that humanity can be strong without being aggressive. We can defend without conquering. We can lead without dominating. That's the legacy I want for Earth, not as conquerors, but as guardians. The meeting ended and the officers departed to their various assignments. Admiral Song remained behind, looking at the holographic display of Earth's defense network. 7 massive Titan-class warships, 12 more under construction, hundreds of smaller vessels, orbital defense platforms, shield generators protecting every major colony. Humanity had learned its lessons well. They would never be helpless again. But more importantly, they had learned to use their strength wisely. The galaxy was still dangerous. The universe still didn't guarantee survival. But humanity had proven they belonged among the stars. Not as subjects or conquerors, but as equals who would stand alongside other species, protecting what was precious and defending what was right. And somewhere in deep space, the eternal horizon continued its patrol, a massive guardian watching over the darkness, ready to defend but hoping never to destroy. It was a symbol of everything humanity had become, powerful but restrained, strong but just, ready for war but hoping for peace. The Council had learned to respect that balance. And in learning respect, they had found an ally worth having.